I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I wasn't raised in a Christian home. I actually was raised by parents who were drug addicts, and they did the best that they could, but yeah, they were struggling in life. Early in life, I actually got introduced to drugs, marijuana when I was 12 years old, and when I was 13 years old, I actually got introduced to hard drugs. Methamphetamine was the main one. I remember my life just became consumed with this high, with this drug. And so 13 years old, I'm listening to gangster rap music and I'm wanting to be this tough guy, wanting to be this gangster. I'm shooting up methamphetamine, I'm drinking, and I'm just living a very wicked life. I actually got sent to a maximum security penitentiary. I was 18 years old and I was at the Oklahoma State Penitentiary in McAlester, Oklahoma. That's where like death row is, and just the worst of the worst. And it's crazy to think about me as an 18-year-old kid that I was in this facility where like the worst of the worst in Oklahoma was, where like the murderers and people on death row. But again, I just gave myself over to this life. I think I'd been in prison 6 years at this point. And I remember being in my prison cell, locked down 24 hours a day, and just realizing the life that I was living. And I was also strung on drugs in prison. And it was like every day that I was waking up, I didn't know if I was gonna get killed. I didn't know if I was gonna be in a situation where I might have to kill somebody. Like it was just it was a crazy life. And after being in prison 6 years and being involved in this, I finally got like very depressed in my life. Like when I realized the life that I was living, and I realized that I didn't know if I was ever even gonna get out of prison. And I was actually in a situation where I didn't even know if I cared if I got out of prison. And that's a really sad place to be. I actually got up one day and I was so depressed, I was hating my life, and I got up and I was looking out my prison cell door, and like when I was just at my lowest is when Jesus came to me. And like I had a real experience with God in my prison cell. And I didn't even know who God was. I didn't believe in God. I thought the Bible was a fairy tale. But I remember when I was so depressed thinking about suicide. And I got up and I was staring out my prison cell door, hating life, not wanting to live anymore, that I felt a presence come into my prison cell. And it was a true experience, like where I felt the presence of God, and I didn't know who God was. But it's like I felt this presence come into my cell, and like all the hair on my whole body stood on end, like the hair on my neck. Like I just remember being like at my cell, looking out the door, and like just knowing that like this God had just come into my prison cell. And it was amazing because like I heard God speak to me. And when I say I heard God speak to me, it wasn't like I heard a voice, but it wasn't just an impression. It was like I like felt God's voice like speak to my heart. And he told me, he said, I'm real. And the Bible's true. Like he spoke to me, and I just stood there at my prison cell door in like shock for like 2 hours. Like I couldn't move. And it was amazing because I was so depressed and so full of stress and anxiety. And it was like the moment that I heard God speak to me, the moment that I knew that there was something more to life, like all the depression was gone. It was gone. Like my anxiety, my fears, my stress, it was like, oh, I knew there was something more to life. Like I knew that God was real. And I was blown away. It was like, I had no clue that God was real, that there was something more to life. A little time goes by and I pick up my Bible for the first time to read it. And I went to the book of Romans. And I read the book of Romans, and I was just amazed at what I was reading, how Paul was saying that like we can walk in the Spirit, that we don't have to live this sinful life, that we can live a complete different life, that we don't have to be bound by sins or fears. And when I read that, I was just blown away. And I remember I read the book of Romans and I bowed my head and prayed. And I went on this intense Bible study. I started reading the Bible like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. My cellmate got up one day and we had these books underneath our television, and he grabbed one of the books and he pulled it out and he said, hey, this looks like it might be a good book, and he handed it to me. And this book was called Patriarchs and Prophets. I read that book and I was just blown away, because I never heard of Ellen White. I never heard of Seventh-day Adventists, but I knew that God had put that book in my cell. A year later, the same thing happened. I actually got moved to a different prison cell. And this new prison cell that I came into, there were some books that were underneath our bed, and they were taped together. There was 2 stacks of books like this. They were taped together where people had been exercising, doing push-ups on the book. And I got the books out one day and I was doing push-ups, and as I looked, right there in the middle of the books was The Great Controversy. And it was amazing because when I cut that book out and I went to the index and I started looking at the chapters and I started reading that book, it was like all these questions that I didn't even know I had in my mind that I was questioning about prophecy and just all these different things about the state of the dead. It was like God put this book in my cell. And I got out of prison a short time later. I think it was like just a few months, maybe 6 months later. And when I got out of prison, I had learned about the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I'd learned these books, where they came from, and I went to the Seventh-day Adventist Church and I got baptized, and God came into my life and started working in a mighty way. And he actually led me to Ouachita Hills College. He's given me the canvassing work where we actually get to go door to door and take the books that I found in prison, and I get to share my testimony with people. I get to knock on their doors and tell them about these books that have changed my life. And today I am studying biblical theology here at Ouachita Hills, and I have found a great desire in my heart to canvass, to teach literature evangelism, and also to preach God's word. I'm so thankful for the Lord because I just don't know where I'd be today without him. He has brought salvation to me, and he's called me from a very dark world. And today I'm just thankful for the Lord. I'm thankful for what he's done in my life, and I just want to serve him. I want to serve him with all my heart.